10 years ago, my wife and I bought the house that we currently live in. The house had actually sat empty for several years, had been foreclosed on, and actually all of the plumbing and the electric was stolen out of the house, which made it basically no way for you to get a mortgage because it was not livable. The only way to pay for the house would be to buy it with cash and then do all the necessary repairs. And then, I mean, I guess if you have the cash, you could go from there, but you could then do the repairs and get a mortgage. I thought I knew a lot about repairing a house. I thought I knew a lot about renovating, doing some remodeling. What I didn't know was the extent of the repairs that were going to be needed. We bought the house in July, and December 2013, I lost my job. And if you remember, I don't remember what month it was, but the winter of 2013, we had a long, long cold streak of like -30, -40 with wind chills. And this is in the middle of me remodeling this house while we were living in it. And much of our living room, actually the whole downstairs, the main floor had no drywall, and lots of places had no insulation. And our house has like no trees around it because we're surrounded by crop fields. So when the winds would blow, they were harsh, and it would basically just turn our home into an ice box, it felt like. As Dad and I were working on the lower level, we had plans of kind of the rooms we would focus on, and once they were finished, we would move to the next room and just do things in order. We thought that would be the best way to do it. But when that storm hit, and propane actually at the time was about $4 a gallon. So if you imagine the situation we're in, where income is low and the propane was high and the house was cold, we had to change our plans. We had to be flexible with where our tools were, where our work area was set up, what we were going to focus on, because our goal ultimately was to finish the remodel. But our plans, which seemed like they were going to be efficient and they were going to get us done in the fastest amount of time, because we would focus on one area, finish it, move to the next. It didn't work out. We had to be flexible. We had to focus on where the problems were. And at that time, it was where there was no insulation and that cold winter air was just blowing through. And that whole idea of being flexible in life, though, applies in many more areas than just that. It's actually a biblical lesson as well. If you look at the passage in James, which is James chapter 4, 13 to 15, he says, "Now listen, you who say, today or tomorrow we will go to this or that city, spend a year there, carry on business, make money. Why? You do not even know what will happen tomorrow. What is your life? You're a mist that appears for a little while and then vanishes. Instead, you ought to say, if it's the Lord's will, we will live and do this or that." You know, that passage was written by James, who is the brother of Jesus, and he's addressing the early Christian community. You know, the context of that teaching, though, is humility. It's being humble to say, Lord, I have plans, but ultimately you're the one in control of my footsteps and my direction, the doors that open, the doors that close. It teaches about humility and dependence on God. And, you know, this is all set against a backdrop of people who were confidently making plans for their future without regard to God's will. James is cautioning, against that type of arrogance and self-reliance. He emphasizes that human life is just fleeting, it's unpredictable, and making plans without considering God's will is both presumptuous and futile. So the key lesson here is to hold our plans loosely. I had plans to finish my house in an orderly fashion that I thought would be best. Have to be flexible. We have to hold our plans loosely, and also to recognize God's ultimate authority over our lives. So we're encouraged to say, if it is the Lord's will, that should reflect a heart posture of submission and flexibility to God's plans. and acknowledging that he knows best and has ultimate control. That's what it's about. So I hope this is a good lesson for you to share kind of one of my experiences of holding a plan loosely. And ultimately we did finish our goal. We did finish the remodeling. We did finish the repairs. We got the insulation and the drywall up. Everything that needed to happen did happen, but it didn't happen the way that we planned. But it all came to completion eventually. We had to be flexible, and that's how we should be in life as well. We should be flexible. We have a destination. God has a calling for us, and ultimately that calling is to be more like him every single day. But hold those plans loosely and ultimately submit to whatever he has planned for you. Have a great day.